Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radesha Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radesha Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radesha Lalita Vishaka Jaya Radesha Jaya Gora Nitai Jaya Gora Nitai Jaya Gora Nitai Jaya Gora Nitai Gora Nitai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai. Om Vishnu Par Paramhamsa Parivajagacharya Stotra Tatra Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Om Vishnu Par Paramhamsa Parivajagacharya Stotra Tatra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishyavinda Ki Sama Veda Bhakta Vinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasim Tato Jayamudiriyet Nastaprayesha Vabhadrashtu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So thank you for this opportunity to make an attempt to glorify Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam. I'd like to beg the blessings of all the assembled devotees so that we can have a nice discussion today on the verses that have been assigned from 10th canto, chapter number 70, verses 31 through 37. The title of the chapter, Lord Krishna's Daily Activities. So I'll recite and repeat the first of the series of verses, then I'll just read the remainders. There's a small purport, a couple small purports that we'll get through and then have a discussion. So read the verse number 31, the first verse of today, and repeat. Dūta uvāca eti māgadha-saṁruddhā bhavad-darśana-kaṅkṣiṇaḥ pāda-mūlaṁ te dīnānāṁ vidhīyatām dūta uvāca iti māgadha-saṁruddhā bhavad-darśana-kaṅkṣiṇaḥ pāda-mūlaṁ te dīnānāṁ vidhīyatām. Dūta uvāca iti māgadha-saṁruddhā bhavad-darśana-kaṅkṣiṇaḥ prapannāḥ pāda-mūlaṁ te dīnānāṁ vidhīyatām. Repeat. Dūta uvāca iti māgadha-saṁruddhā bhavad-darśana-kaṅkṣiṇaḥ pāda-mūlaṁ te dūta uvāca iti māgadha-saṁruddhā dūta uvāca Vaishnavis. Dūta uvāca māgadha-saṁruddhā bhavad-darśana-kaṅkṣiṇaḥ mūlam te dūta uvāca māgadha-saṁruddhā bhavad-darśana-kaṅkṣiṇaḥ prapannāḥ pāda-mūlaṁ te dūta uvāca prapannāḥ mūlam te dīnānāṁ vidhīyatām. Dūtaḥ uvāca. The messenger said, Iti, thus, Māgadha, by Jarāsandha, saṁruddhāḥ, imprisoned, bhavat, of you, darshana, for the sight, kāṅkṣiṇaḥ, anxiously awaiting, prapannāḥ, surrendered, pāda, of the feet, mūlam, to the base, te, your, dīnānāṁ, to the pitiable, sham, benefit, vidhīyatām, please bestow. Translation. The messenger continued, this is the message of the kings imprisoned by Jarāsandha, for who all hanker for your audience, having surrendered to your feet. Please bestow good fortune of these poor souls. Please repeat. The messenger continued, this is the message of the kings imprisoned by Jarāsandha, who all hanker for your audience, having surrendered to your feet. Please bestow good fortune on these poor souls. Okay. So just read the next few verses. Shishuko vacha rajadute bruvate evam devarshahi paramaditaha bibrat pinga jatabaram pradarushadhyataravihi. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, when the king's messenger had thus spoken, the sage of the demigods, Narada, suddenly appeared, bearing a mass of golden matted locks on his head. The supreme effulgent sage entered like the brilliant sun. Text number 33. Tam jishtva bhagavan Krishna sarva lokesha vaishvaraha bhavanda utita Krishna sasabhya sanugo muda. Translation. Lord Krishna is the worshipful master of even planetary rulers like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Yet as soon as he saw Narada Muni had arrived, he joyfully stood up along with his ministers and secretaries to receive the great sage and offered him respectful obeisances by bowing his head. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. This translation is based on Srila Prabhupada's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word muda indicates that Lord Krishna was delighted to see that Narada had arrived. Text number 34. Shabajayatva vidavat kritasana parigraham babase santir vakaya shraddhaya tarpayam munim. Translation. After Narada had accepted the seat offered to him, Lord Krishna honored the sage according to scriptural injunctions, and gratifying him with his reverence, spoke the following truthful, pleasing words. Text number 35. Apisvid adyalokanam trayanam akutubayam nanuboyam bhagavato lokan paryatato gunaham. Translation. Lord Krishna said, "It is certain that today the three worlds have attained freedom from all fear, for that is the influence of such a great personality as you, who travel at will throughout all the worlds." Text number 36. Nahi te vidhīyatām kinchil loke shishvara kartashru atha prachama meha yusman pandavanam chikirshitam. Translation. There is nothing unknown to you within God's creations. Therefore, please tell us what the Pandavas intended to do. Text number 37. This is the last one. Shri Narada uvāca drishta mayate bahusha durataya maya vibo vishvashajaschayamanaha bhuteshu bhumans charata swashaktabir vanir iva Chana Ruchana Mendubutam. Sorry, my eyes are bad. I'm not able to read so clearly. Translation. Shri Narada said, "I have seen many times the insurmountable Maya, O Almighty One, by which you bewilder even the creator of the universe, Brahma. O all-encompassing Lord, it does not surprise me that you disguise yourself by your own energies while moving among the created beings, as a fire covers its own light with smoke." Purport. When Lord Krishna questioned Narada Muni about the intentions of the Pandavas, the sage replied that the Lord is himself all-powerful and all-knowing, even to the extent that he can bewilder the creator of the universe, Brahma. Narada understood that Lord Krishna desired to kill Jarāsandha, and was thus beginning to arrange for this pastime by inquiring from Narada about the Pandavas' intentions. Understanding the Lord's intention, Narada was not astonished when Lord Krishna humbly requested information from him. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paridanasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamstra Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Krupa Sindhu Bevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare. I'll just repeat the first verse that we read again, verse number 31. The messenger continued, "This is the message of the kings imprisoned by Jarāsandha, who all hanker for your audience, having surrendered unto your feet. Please bestow good fortune upon these poor souls." So, it's always a tough act to follow. What a great class we had yesterday with Devi Shakti Mataji. So I'll try to discuss a few things today. So this is the end of the messenger's delivery of their message to Krishna. And of course they're requesting salvation from the perils at the hands of Jarāsandha. And the message is delivered. The Yadavas are all excited that now Krishna is going to destroy this boastful demon once and for all, who's become, very proud. And Narada Muni appears on sight and is going to throw a twist into the story. This is Narada Muni's great activity. He's always a pot stirrer, churns the rasa of Krishna's leelas, like when he told Kamsa that, Krishna's alive in Vraja. We saw that earlier in this canto. And many other times Narada Muni plays this great pastime. But he always does so for the benefit of all of us. He is always finding how to churn Krishna's pastimes in such a way to bestow benedictions upon all of us. So he is going to present in a few verses the idea that Krishna should attend this Rajasuya sacrifice that the Pandavas are going to perform, and the Yadavas are going to now lament a little bit. Wow, I thought you were going to go kill Jarāsandha and free these kings. But of course, Krishna being the supreme mystic, he accomplishes many things with one action, and so he'll perform holistically and fulfill the desires of everyone through his different activities. And this is the great potential and great position of the Supreme Lord. So I thought today we could discuss three things. Discuss this beautiful exchange between Krishna and Narada Muni. It's something we've seen before, but I thought we could discuss some insights into that exchange between Krishna and Narada Muni. Narada Muni, in reply to Krishna's glorification of him, makes this comment about, I have witnessed your insurmountable power of Maya. So that we could discuss a little bit about that. And then maybe revert back, time permitting, to a comment Krishna makes about Narada Muni. His presence here alone is something that can dispel fear. I think, the world is in search of how to dispel fear. And so we can talk a little bit about how the great, acharyas, the great personalities, by their mere presence are able to do so, and take some examples from Srila Prabhupada. So this exchange of words between Lord Krishna and Narada Muni is very interesting and very instructive for us. We see that there's some repetition at times in different activities. So, repetition, it serves a couple of different purposes. Sometimes we see repetition as a way to mark importance. Marketers, when they're giving some message, they'll repeat certain things that they want to stick in our consciousness. So they'll repeat those key pertinent points. Sometimes repetition is also made to help understand something that's difficult to comprehend. The first time we hear it, maybe we grasp 40, 50%. The next time we hear it, maybe a few percentage points more. And like this, by repetition, difficult topics become understood. And we see this in Krishna's discussion of the Bhagavad Gita. He opens the beginning of the second chapter, or at least the early part of the second chapter, with 20 verses on the topic of the soul. And he's repeating over and over again from different angles. Why? Because we know it's a very important topic. If we don't understand this foundational principle, then everything else that we acquire knowledge after that becomes worthless. If we start from the improper position, just like if I do, multiple steps of a math formula, and I make a mistake in that first sequence, the rest of what I do will still throw me off. So like this, Krishna, repeats himself to establish the importance, but also it's difficult for us to contextualize and to understand this topic of the soul. It's very subtle. We're conditioned so deeply to think on the body. And so Krishna repeats. So it is not due to, he ran out of things to say, or he kept forget what was next, and so he kept, no. It was intentional and purposeful. So in this exchange with Narada Muni, we see there's also repetition. Right? Just in the prior chapter, we observed how Narada Muni was received by Krishna in the palace of Rukmini, and how Krishna had given him a very elevated seat, and then went on to wash his feet and to sprinkle the charnamrit on his head. It was very, very instructive for us on how one to receive a Vaishnava. And now Krishna is doing this virtually same act of receiving Narada Muni and putting him into a very elevated position, but this time in public. The first time was done in somewhat privacy of one of his palaces. And now he is doing it in the great assembly hall. We know that Krishna has left in the morning and reached to this, the assembly hall where all the ministers and personalities are present. They were serving him with great fanfare, great pomp and circumstance. And in that position, Krishna has renounced his position for favor of Narada Muni. And we see that this is something that we see repeatedly in our Shastras, that Krishna, he leads by example. And he's showing us by example how we should interact and treat and respect the devotees of the Lord. And actually, Krishna himself, he enjoys more worshiping the devotees, surrendering to the desires of the devotees, than receiving the worship from his devotees. We see this very prominently, of course, in Vrajalila, where Krishna enjoys where his desires are subdued by the power of the love of the Vragatmika Bhaktas, the pure devotees of Vrindavan. But, in our practice, in our practical practice of devotional service, we see that this is a difficult concept for us. We are more eager, at least speaking for myself, enthusiastic to run to the deity kitchen to cook for the deities, less so to run to the devotee kitchen to cook for devotees. We might be more eager to offer our obeisances to Krishna, Balaram, Radhasham, Sundar, Lalita, Vaishaka, Gaur-Nitai, than to the exalted Vaishnava. We might be more eager to see the darshan of the Lord, but not so eager to have the darshan of the pure devotee of the Lord. But this is counter to what Krishna is teaching us. So by showing us this example repeatedly, we hope that we can also inculcate this mood that Krishna wants us to have. That, our most potent opportunity to render service to the Lord, the most powerful ability for us to please the Lord, is to please his devotees. And he says this, both by example and by statements. including in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he tells that I am more pleased when my devotee is worshipped than when someone worships me directly. So this is a good opportunity for us to reflect on the importance of Vaishnava Seva. And it's notably here that it is stated that Krishna joyfully gave up his and bowed his head to Narada Muni. It wasn't even just out of a point of instruction, to show us how to perform this activity. Actually, Srila Prabhupada comments in Krishna book in the 69th chapter. So in the exchange in the palace of Rukmini, when Narada Muni reaches, Srila Prabhupada comments, and I just wanted to read a quote from Krishna book, where he says, quote, "When therefore he washed the feet of the sage Narada and took water on his head, Narada did not object, knowing well that the Lord did so to teach everyone how to respect saintly persons. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original Narayan, an eternal friend of living entities, thus worshipped the sage Narada according to Vedic regulative principles." So here the comment is made that Krishna was doing this to teach us the principles. But in this verse we see that Krishna actually was joyfully performing this action, which tells us, what is in the core of Krishna's heart, that he enjoys this relationship with his devotees. He says in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that the only thing that exists in my heart are the thoughts of my devotees. So by just meditating, on how Krishna is receiving Narada Muni, hopefully, we can become inspired to be eager to render service to the Vaishnavas, because Krishna is teaching us this very, very, potent example. Now, Narada Muni, on his side, what did he do? How did he respond? He accepted the seat, but he did not accept the position. Krishna glorified him and, sang his praises. And how did Narada Muni respond? By glorifying Krishna. By saying, you are asking me what the Pandavas are going to do. Yes, I have been bestowed this potency to know, but you are the only bestower of that potency. You are the knower. By your insurmountable Maya, you put us all into illusion. So Narada Muni is showing, by his own example, that though he was on the receiving end of this, great honor by the Supreme Lord, he did not become bewildered, like we see in, how bewildered Jarāsandha is. Krishna leaving the battlefield, and all of a sudden he thinks, I have conquered him. But the pure devotee is never bewildered, even on the receiving end of this glorification. And that's why, again, in this quote that Srila Prabhupada writes, he says that Narada did not object to the treatment he was receiving. So he didn't object. He accepted that service. But he did so because he knew the Lord wanted to teach everybody. But after Krishna receives him, this is again going back to the interaction of the last chapter, Narada Muni is offered an opportunity to ask for a benediction. And what benediction Narada Muni asked for? He says that I want the benediction that I may always remember you, my worshipable Lord. And Srila Prabhupada comments that by asking for this benediction, Narada Muni showed that he is a pure devotee of the Lord. So he did not become bewildered or disillusioned by this respect that was offered to him. And it's also very instructive to us. Sometimes, we may be offered, some respect from someone, but we can meditate and recognize that likely that person not even offering respect is more senior to us. That is actually the view of the Uttamadhikari, the highest quality devotee. They see everybody is more senior to them. And, when offered respect, we should understand that, yes, sometimes out of a service, we must take it, but never become disillusioned to think that we've become very advanced. Because in that way, we lay our path for potential fall down. And this is what we see, by our great acharyas. Srila Prabhupada, remember in one of his very, very powerful lectures on the disappearance day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is expressing his deepest gratitude to his disciples and to his followers, and saying that I have to thank you all very much for helping me render service to my Guru Maharaj. And I came across a lecture by Srila Prabhupada that I wanted to read just another quote from, because he's referring to how even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to receive respect or obeisances from his disciples. So this is a lecture on Madhya Lila from Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 20, text 66 to 96. This is in New York on November 21st, 1968. Quote, "But officially, custom is that the spiritual master is considered the place of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he is given such respect. But the spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, thinks that I am your disciple. I am your disciple. And practical example I have seen. Our Guru Maharaj," referring to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, "when we offered obeisances, he used to return, 'Daso asmi,' I am your servant. He used to return me this way, 'I am your servant.' So these are the things we have to learn from the behavior, practical demonstration of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life." So you can see how Srila Prabhupada is instructing us very importantly, as Narada Muni did in these verses, by, again, accepting the service, accepting the seat, but in his heart not accepting that position that Krishna had bestowed to him. And, of course, Srila Prabhupada, was on the receiving end of so much worship and service. That was out of his unlimited compassion for all of us to help us purify, to help teach us the mood of how to approach Guru in life. We know that when he became very, very ill and was suffering from great bodily difficulties, I don't remember who approached him. Maybe Panchaguru Prabhu, somebody can remind me who approached him, but mentioned that because they have established your deity, your murti on the altar, and are worshipping you while you are still in your vapu presence, that is a transgression, you are suffering this. And Srila Prabhupada responded that if that's what it takes to help purify my followers and teach them the mood of service to devotee, then I will take this suffering. So this is the mood in which Srila Prabhupada, was receiving that. It wasn't, to satisfy his ego or his longing to be worshipped, but he was accepting that service as a service to the Supreme Lord. And it's very difficult to do. But by praying to Srila Prabhupada, to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Guru Parampara, and by meditating on how Narada Muni responded, we can hope to have such a similar response if we come into the opportunity or the position to maybe receive some respect from someone. We should always, carry in our heart, Daso Asmi, I am your servant. And if we do so, we can be protected from such potential to become proud of that position. That was the first thing I wanted to discuss, just a little bit about the sweetness of the exchange, Krishna's happiness in serving his Vaishnavas, inspiring us to be more eager to run to the devotee kitchen than to the deity kitchen, as a practical way of how we can find ways to serve, and also if we are on the receiving end of some respect, to understand actually our real position in receiving that respect. So the second point I wanted to talk a little bit about is in Narada Muni's response. He says that, I'll just read it again just as a reminder. Sri Narada Muni said, "I have seen many times the insurmountable power of your Maya." And that just reminded me of a beautiful story of Narada Muni once when he was walking with Krishna, and he asked him, "Tell me about this Maya. What is this Maya?" Maybe he was thinking, how can we become illusioned? He said, "Oh, you want to know about my Maya? This is a long story. Let us take some rest in this, shade of this tree." And they sat down, and Krishna said, "I am feeling thirsty. Can you go and fetch me some water?" So Narada Muni says, "Sure." And he starts to walk, and he sees in the distant outline, some thatched huts, a village. And so he starts to walk his way there. It's quite hot. Heat is bearing down upon him. And as he's walking to this village, he is starting to feel thirst himself. And so he approaches, the first hut that he sees. And there he begs for some water. And the owner of the home, very nicely invites him in. Great saintly person has come. And Narada Muni is thinking, I just need to grab a glass of water for my Lord. And then he thought, I am also feeling very thirsty. Maybe I'll ask for 2 glasses of water. And like this. And then the saintly person says, well, come in, sit down, take some water, rest so that you can go back more quickly. Narada Muni thinks, oh, that's a good idea. And so he sits down. He takes a glass of water, and then the saint says, well, let me fetch you some, fruits. It's not nice to, a great saintly person has come. Let me get some fruits from the jungle, and you can honor some prasad and then go back. Okay, that sounds good. And so he waits and gets some fruits. Then he takes note. Oh, who is this beautiful lady? Who is this beautiful girl? Such beautiful eyes, sidelong glances. I become attracted. And he propositions the father, may I marry your daughter? He is ecstatic. What is the potential of me to find such a wonderful suitor, a partner for my daughter? Yes, you want to marry her. Narada Muni marries this lady right then and there. He performs this ceremony. They become married. Has a child. And like this, Narada Muni becomes fully engrossed in all of his grihastha duties. Married life, maintaining his father-in-law, maintaining his child. Many years have now passed. And one day he hears a boom, a thud. And when he went to go explore, his son had fallen into the water and was starting to drown. And then he hears another boom, thud. And his wife had jumped in to try to save his son. So Narada Muni's heart starts racing and becomes very desperate. And he's running along the shore and trying to grab his wife who is trying to grab his son. But after great attempt and great endeavor, he himself falls into the water and begins to drown. And at this point, at the verge of losing his son, his daughter, and his own life, he calls out, "Oh Krishna, oh Krishna." All this time at last, he had completely forgotten. And immediately, instantly, he returns back to that tree where Krishna is waiting. And he says, "Where is my water? Where have you been?" And then Narada Muni understood. What is Maya? What is this illusion? It starts small. A glass of water. And we become entrapped. And it builds and builds and builds. And before we know it, our complete consciousness can be washed away. So this Maya is very, very powerful. And that's why Narada Muni says, I have seen many times the insurmountable power of your Maya. So we should be very careful about that, that slippery slope of letting Maya enter into any part of our consciousness. Of course, Krishna's Maya energy is not insurmountable. It is seemingly insurmountable until we come into the presence of the Supreme Lord. Because Krishna tells us, Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratraya. Yes, this divine energy of mine is very difficult to overcome. But mahameva ye prabhadyante. Mayamitam tarantite. At once you can cross over it. If you do what? Surrender to me. So we have to surrender to a higher power. What is the potency of Krishna's Maya potency in the presence of Krishna? Nothing. Nothing. It is like a flashlight in the presence of the sun. It has no power in the presence of Krishna. So by surrendering to Krishna, of course, this Maya potency becomes very easily conquered. But we should be very mindful that this Maya potency, we can be fully immersed in spiritual life as Narada Muni was. Think, he was walking with the Supreme Lord. He asked the question, what is Maya? He was cognizant of it. And he became completely entrapped. So what to speak of us, or at least myself, trying to purify this contaminated heart, the potential of Maya, washing us away, is real at every moment. So we should be very determined and mindful of its dangers. And if we are mindful of it and holding on to the feet of Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara, we can be saved. Because we see this, Jarāsandha. This is Maya exemplified in full. 17 times he was defeated. He was thoroughly vanquished. His entire army with no effort, little effort. But when Krishna, trying to show some compassion, left the battlefield, what did Jarāsandha think? Krishna, you are a coward. And so we laugh at Jarāsandha's, foolishness. But actually, we travel this material world just like Jarāsandha. We are being defeated over and over and over again by this material energy. But we think, this time I got it. This time I'm going to beat it. This is this Jarāsandha-like mentality. And so, we can meditate on this pastime and trying to kill this Jarāsandha-like mentality of our own by taking to this process of devotional service and avoiding and making sure that we become very thoughtful about this potential of Maya to sweep us away. So I think we're reaching almost 8:50. So maybe I'll pause here. I'd like to take any comments, reflections, corrections, any questions on today's verses. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. So when we hear the glories of devotional service and the beauty of Krishna and serving Krishna in the spiritual world and the pure life, but we still have attraction for such a paltry enjoyment of this material world, family, love, nation, and that determination to actually give it up and surrender to Krishna, is that something that, like one person may seem, he's so fixed up, and someone, no matter how much they try, they always seem to give in to the mind and senses. So how do we remedy that giving into the mind and senses and not really appreciating the glory of devotional service?
Prabhuji is asking me the question that he has the answer to. So for my own purification, maybe a few things. How not to give up to the mind and senses. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says we should wake up in the morning and beat our mind with a shoe 100 times. And that at night, we should beat it again 100 times with a broomstick.
And how do we do that? Can you show us how it's done?
Can I have your shoe, please? Yes. It is obviously being very, very cognizant of the dangers of the mind. At the end of the day, Krishna tells us very beautifully in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita that the mind's desires are going to flow, and the mind is going to concoct all kinds of crazy ideas. But it is incumbent upon our intelligence to say no to the mind, to be undisturbed by the mind's flows. And Krishna gives the example of a river flowing into the ocean. A river doesn't object to the flow of the river into this ocean, but the ocean remains undisturbed, unmoved by that flow. So similarly, our goal is to become unmoved by the dictations and the thoughts of the mind. If we try to stop all these crazy thoughts of the mind, that becomes hopeless. We can't stop them. That is the nature of the mind. But what we can stop, what we have the control to be able to do, is to use our intelligence to say no to the mind. So when those ideas come, to remain fixed. Of course, easier said than done. But that is why, Srila Prabhupada, by his unlimited compassion for all of us, built this beautiful international society for Krishna consciousness, where there is strength in numbers. Through association, when we become weakened or tempted by the dictations of the mind, we can embrace our friends, our seniors, even our juniors in devotional service, and stick together and avoid falling temptation to the mind. We know that the sweetness of devotional service, that is going to come in time as we purify. Rupa Goswami gives us this very vivid example of the jaundiced condition. Right? In the jaundiced condition, the bitter things of the material world are going to taste very sweet. And the things that are actually sweet, the beautiful, lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the chanting of His holy names, the singing of His bhajans, the reading of His pastimes, those things that are actually sweet. In the beginning, they're bitter, because we are in this jaundiced condition. And that jaundice is what? Our avidya, our ignorance. So it's okay if we recognize, I still like that cricket match or that movie or that, and I'm supposed to like reading Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto. Okay, it's acknowledging I'm in my ignorant, my jaundiced condition. And what to do? Well, how do we cure jaundice? We take more sugar pills. Even though that sugar pill tastes bitter, we take more. So what do we do practically? We take more sincerely to our sadhana. We stay committed to chanting our rounds very nicely, attentively. Attending Mangalarti, attending Srimad Bhagavatam class, attentively. Doubling down on our sadhana. Yes, it might not be as sweet yet as some of the other things that we are trying to detach from. But with faith that my senses will ultimately purify, and that I will taste the sweetness that others before me have tasted. We have so many living examples and past examples of those who have become so enthralled by the sweetness of the glories of the holy name that they don't want one tongue, they want millions of tongues. One is not sufficient. That sweetness is there. It's just not relishable yet for us. So by remaining steadfast in our sadhana, by remaining fixed in great devotee association, we can be protected from the allurements and get quickly to the path where our jaundiced condition will be cured, and we'll then relish the real sweetness of spiritual life. If I can offer that.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay. You're too kind and generous.
Thank you, Nitya Krishna Prabhu, for expounding the importance of surrendering to the Lord. And it reminded me of a pastime of Prabhupada I came across recently. So Prabhupada is giving a class in the Bhaktivedanta manner, I believe. And Prabhupada says in the class, the difference, he's saying it to the disciples, the difference between you and I is you can fall down, but I will never fall down. And then later, Jamuna Devi sees Prabhupada praying in front of the deities, and she asks, "So Prabhupada, what are you praying?" And Prabhupada is praying he says, "I'm praying to the Lord, may I never fall down." Yamuna Devi's bewildered, she's asking, "You'll never fall down in the class, why is it that you're praying?" And Prabhupada replies, "I said I'll never fall down because I'm always praying that I may never fall down."
Well, that's a beautiful. If Srila Prabhupada himself is praying this way, what to speak of us? If Srila Prabhupada, who had no potential to fall, he was sent from the spiritual world to save all of us, but still, he was praying to the Lord. And actually, that disciple who observed, he saw that Srila Prabhupada was just intensely interacting with the Lord. It wasn't a passing prayer. "Oh, Krishna, don't let me fall down." It was so intensive an exchange that it inspired that disciple to ask, "What were you praying for?" So, not only praying in out of etiquette or out of ritual, but praying out of the heart, then we'll be protected. So yes, thank you for sharing a beautiful pastime. Yes, what's it in the back?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for reminding us the danger of Maya, of the dangers, I should say, of Maya. I was just wondering that while we are practicing Krishna consciousness and maybe doing it, so to speak, very diligently by coming for Mangalarti, attending everything and attending the class, etc., what role does association have to play in one's protection from Maya? In the sense, how I mean that is, we may have our own definition of having our own protection from Maya. But if the association is similar, like we say we should take association of samadarshana, like-minded people. But if all of our association is such that they think this is Krishna consciousness, and we may actually be doing something which is not quite Krishna conscious. So I don't know if my question makes much sense, forgive me, but if in case you got the idea, what I'm trying to ask is, how does one protect oneself from living in a little bubble, which we may think is the right way? Sorry.
Yeah, so, if we can somehow get rid of the idea of I think and surrender to the idea of what our spiritual master and our senior devotees think for us. It's very difficult to do. But association is not just being in the physical proximity. Association is an active engagement to be inspired by. So, and we have to be careful who we associate with. We should be very mindful of who we can associate with that will inspire us to overcome whatever flaws we have, whatever deficiencies we have in spiritual life. So it's not just association coming to the temple for Mangalarti and singing and dancing with the devotees. But Rupa Goswami gives us, this formula of how to exchange, revealing our heart. Well, we don't just reveal our heart to anyone and everyone, post it on Facebook or Instagram and wait for comments. That is the modern form of association that can be actually very dangerous sometimes, because we might get persuaded to a wrong path, somebody who doesn't have our best interests at heart. And so we remain respectful and loving to all, but we reveal our heart and seek inspiration from those who are ahead of us on the path of devotional life. who have already conquered the challenges that we are facing. Right? Just like if I want to learn algebra, I got to learn it from somebody who knows algebra, not somebody who is also struggling to figure out X's and Y's and Z's and that. Right? Otherwise, we're all going to be in the same boat. So we seek out, the association of our, acharyas, our guru parampara, our senior devotees who can, guide us. And it takes a humble disposition to want to be corrected. It's painful. When someone corrects us, we feel some pain in the heart. What is that pain? It's our ego.
Yes.
If there's no ego, there's no pain. When we feel that pain, when someone says, Prabhuji, Mataji, you shouldn't do it this way, you need to do it that way. We may, externally say, oh, thank you very much. Internally saying, you rascal.
Yeah.
That's our ego. So, in order to take advantage of association, we have to put ourselves in the position of wanting to be corrected, wanting to be guided. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll surround ourselves with a bunch of yes men, yes women.
Yes.
Who'll just tell us how great we are and what we're doing is so wonderful. And all along the way, we'll just be floating down the river away from Krishna. So we should seek out those who have our interests at heart, who have understood, who have progressed further than us, and that will guide us. But then it's on us, incumbent upon us, to carry the mood of wanting to be, guided and corrected. And if we do so, then that association is very, very powerful and will protect our bhakti latabi. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, without the protective fence around our creeper of bhakti, it will get trampled by the traffic of the road, using that example. Right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, time for one more. Yes, Prabhuji.
It's incomplete without your question.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. I must say that it's a very important reminder class because you have covered two most important things which we usually forget. First is to show respect and worship the devotees of the Lord. And the second important thing is that we usually are in illusion about illusion.
Yes.
We usually are in illusion about worshipping the devotees of the Lord and of illusion itself. And you provided a very important class today here. Is our reminder class, and I believe that it must be continued from time to time. Thank you for your wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled Vaishnavas. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. No.